Okay. Good morning. Morning. Today we're going to start on Mem Zayin Beis, holding by Amar of Kana. It's middle of the page. Yeah, I think Hashem are able to learn Torah every day. Supposed to be learning. We should have the basic English meeting. This is 47b. You see that Amar of Kana? It starts with a lung that's like that looks like a liver. It's the middle of the page. It's probably. So you see a story with Rav Nosson. Okay, so right after the story with Rav Nosson, there's two of them. Amar of Kana, Kikav the Ksheira. Kana says that if the lung looks like the color of the liver, so then it's kosher. But Kibisha Treifa. If it looks like regular meat, then it's going to be Treifa. And regular meat means that it's diseased. The lung is not supposed to look like other steaks. So that would be diseased. That's considered treifa. V'simanach, if you want to remember this, basar basada treifa. Meat in the field is a pasuk. This is meat in the field is treifa. Flesh in the field is a treifa. So we're saying that the lung looks like meat, then it's a treifa. Like you can remember it from that pasuk. Amar of Sama Bered Rava, Hayre the Damya Kashusa. The lung looks like the color of kashusa. Kashusa is daughter. It's a type of like weed, and it's here it calls it green, but it's not green like grass. It's a different sort of green. You're gonna have some oranges in here. What do they say over there? They say orange. Yellow like an egg. Okay, that's coming up as well. Kamarika, or if it's looks like saffron, right? That's going beasa, or like the yellow of an egg. Then treifa. Then it's all of those colors are not kosher. So what type of green? We said before there was a green that was kosher. That's kakarti. That's green like leeks. That's a different story. Amar Ravina says atum bereya. Let's say there's a part of the lung that the air doesn't get to it, so it doesn't inflate. It's blocked. Marcina zakina. You have to take a knife, the karina lay, and then you tear it. You cut it open. Yispe mugla. If there's probably like a mucus in there, mas muglahu ksheira. So it's because of the pus or mucus. Dilai, and if there's no pus there, then my svina na lagatva ireka imevatsu ksheira ilay treifa. You have to take a feather or a little reed or a feather or a little saliva, and you see if it starts to blow or bubble. Then we'll say then if it bubbles, then it's kosher, and if not, it's treifa. Now, question is, this is just one part of the lung. The whole lung is still fine. Why is it making a treif just because there's one part that doesn't? I guess because we're seeing that it's diseased. It's not just that it's like emphysema. That emphysema where the lung gets like hard. That's the doctor. Okay. Amrav Yosef. Krum shalamach masmaka bereya ina krum. This is a general statement. Anytime you have a scar tissue in on the lung, it doesn't count. We don't count the scar tissue. We think that that's considered that's just like fake. It's going to fall off. It's not a krum. Rav Yosef says, "Hi, Reya Dabsha." Had this before. If you have a lung that's whistling, means when you blow it up, you're hearing a sound. We had it on Mem Vav Amid Beis. Had this exact Gemara. So what do you do if it's whistling? If you know where the sound is coming from, put on it a feather, a gila, or a piece of straw, a reika, or a little saliva. If it's If it bubbles over there, then treifa, then it's a treifa. Vilai. If it doesn't bubble, then it's kshera. Then we say it's kasher. So we know that. Here, take one more. Yeah.
Seriously, bought last time.
Did we start buying them in Chullin? I don't remember if it was fine. I know we had by Shabbos and Erev.
So many, a whole box.
No, now's the time to take advantage of stuff. So, it's a treifa. If we're talking about if there's when you blow up the lung, you hear a little whistle in the lung. So it sounds like there's probably a hole. We're on Mem Zayin and base. It sounds like there's a hole. So the question is it a hole that's coming out, or is there something inside that's whistling? Because there's a lot going on in the lung. So you'd have to take if you know where the sound is coming from, so you take a feather, you check it like, you see if you put a little, you spritz on the tire, you spritz the soapy water, see if it bubbles up, or you put a feather there, you see if it moves. If nothing moves, then we say it's kosher because it's all contained inside. Before we brought this Gemara to tell me that the outer membrane of the lung is the main one, and if that's not punctured, even if there's a puncture in the inner membrane and the sound is coming through the two, so it was still kasha. But here we're saying, if you don't know where it is, you bring a bucket, like a negelwasser shissel. The maya pshuri of lukewarm water, and you put the lung in it. You don't use warm water, the kavtzi, because warm water will make it shrink, make the hole shrink, Dr. Stein explained this yesterday, makes the material of the lung expand, which will make the hole shrink. And then you can't tell why is there nothing coming out, because the hole shrunk, because everything else expanded, and warm water makes everything expand, not the hole, but everything else. The karire, you don't put it in cold water, the metarshi, because that would make it brittle. You use lukewarm water. If you see bubbles coming up, then treifa. If you like sheira, not then it's kasher. Why is it kasher? The inner membrane is the one that was punctured. But the outer membrane wasn't punctured. And this that it's whistling, that's because there's an ear that's in between the two of them that's going through. I have in this sefer, I have a picture for every one of these possibilities. And it's called Sichas Chullin.
Medical book.
It's better than a medical book because it's diagrams.
So you're not qualified for this surgery.
I'm Zion, I'm in biz. Okay. You see he's blowing it up? Okay, the next one is Amar Ula, Amar Abiyachan, and Reish Nishpa Kikis and Kshera. You got to see this picture. See, it looks like there's water inside the different lobes of the lung. So when he's going to turn it over, everything's going to pour out. Just to show this to measure. See the water in there? Okay. So then we're holding by Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Ula says, Ula was a traveler. So he brings from Rabbi Yochanan. Says, Reya Shinish Bakikisa, in a lung that pours out like a drug. Yeah. Obviously everything inside dissolved, but the membrane, the outer membrane of the lung is still intact. Yeah.
Oh, Jeff wants to say that so bad.
Poured his lungs out. Alma. So what do we see over here? Alma kasavar chisaron mebifnim leishmi chisaron. That if there's a hole in the inside, it's not a problem. A hole in the outer part of the lung is for sure. We said reish and nikva. If it has punctured, it's puzzle. It's treifa. But over here, it's just missing in the inside. Inside, that's not a problem. Leishmi chisaron. Eisvei Rab Abba leula. Abba asks a question to Ula that's saying this. Reish and nikva. He quotes a If a lung is punctured or if it's missing. So you hear? You have two options: punctured or missing. So he asks, says, we're going to have this Gemara a few times, the same Gemara. It goes like this. He asks, my chasra, what does it mean missing? If it's missing a piece on the outside, that means the membrane is missing. So it says hainu nikva, so that means it's punctured. So why do you have to say it's punctured or missing? It's punctured or punctured, right? If it's missing means a hole on the outside, it means it's punctured. It must mean that missing means on the inside, which means that even if the outside is perfectly intact, but in the inside, some of the tissue of the lung is dissolved and poured out, so then it's treifa. So ilim, okay. That means obviously that something missing on the inside of the lung is also treif. So why do you tell me? Why do Allah say that if it pours out, then it's going to be kosher? It says like tzricha l'Reb Shimon da'amar shetinak lebeisas impainas. Reb Shimon argues on the Mishnah that says Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The Mishnah says that if a lung is punctured, it's treif. Shimon says no, a lung is not a problem unless it's punctured all the way till the bronchial tubes. It has to puncture all the flesh of the lung all the way to the bronchial tubes. If it's punctured like that, then it's going to be treif. So Hanimili, when does Reb Shimon say that it's going to be kosher even if it's punctured? Hanimili nekev to less bechisaron. That's only if the puncture doesn't remove anything. There's different types of punctures. It can be punctured like a hole puncture, for paper. It takes a little circle and knocks it right out. So if it's punctured, like it could be punctured with a needle. Punctured with a needle, it means nothing's missing. You just made a hole and everything spreads to the side. But if it's missing, if it's lacking, then Reb Shimon only said it's kosher if it's not lacking anything. But if it's lacking something, I feel Reb Shimon would agree that it's going to be puzzle. So when that Mishnah says areya shenikva, a chasra is talking according to Reb Shimon, where chasra is even from the outside, and Reb Shimon that usually says if it's a hole on the outside, it's not a problem. Over here he's saying that it is a problem because it's missing. It's a different type of hole. It's not just a puncture. It's actually took out a piece. Now, what does this tell me? Back to Ula and the name of Rabbi Yechanan, that if it's missing on the inside, it's not a problem. The Mishnah that says missing, which we were compelled to say that it's missing on the inside, because or else that you just said puncture twice. No, you didn't say puncture twice. There's two types of punctures. We're talking about the outside, but the inside is not a problem. So Ula in the name of Rabbi Yechanan is correct. Rabbi Chanina Chalash. Chanina was ill. Al Gabei, Reb Nassan v'chol Gedolei Adar. Everyone went to visit him. Reb Nassan and all the greats. Gadol Adar. Yeah. The Gedolei Adar. Isa Kamei Reisim Mishpat Kisin. Well, while they're there, someone comes in with a lung that pours out like a jug. Achshay said that it's kosher. Amar Rava says Vudakaimis and Pinus. So it would only be kosher if the bronchial tubes are still intact. Now, actually, I wrote on the side, I guess last time around, I had a pshat that the reason why they brought him the lung and he was supposed to say it's kosher is because he actually had this disease that he was supposed to paskin on. If he paskin said it's kosher, then he'll survive. If he paskin, anyway, I don't know where I heard that from. I didn't put a thing on it. Anyway, who the kaimis and pinus? Rava says that even though all the tissue of the lung, we said is kosher if the tissue dissolves and he pours it out, but you still need to have all the skeleton part. It's not a skeleton, but it's the bronchial tubes that are inside have to be intact. How do you know what's intact? Once it dissolves, you don't know. It's like trying to know how much you forgot. Right? Amalei says, this means like a ceramic bowl that's covered in lead. It's very, very smooth. You pour the lung into it. If it has white little things in it, white little pieces, then it's treifa. Then it's treif. Why? Because that's part of the sympinus. That's the bronchial tubes that are dissolving, and you're seeing it in the water. be like Sheira, it sounds like how you check some of the vegetables. You put it in water, and then you look at the water, and then the thing. Okay. Amar Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says, Reya Sheni Muka. A lung that dissolved, the inside dissolved. I don't know why this is not the same. Rashi says this is not the same as when you poured it out. It's just empty. It's just empty. There's part of the lung that's empty. Bikrum shalakaya. What's wrong?
Trying to come here. He keeps on texting me.
Oh, bikrum shalakaya. The outer membrane is still intact. Ksheira, it's kosher. Okay, clear that something missing on the inside. It's not a problem according to Rav Nachman. We even have a brisa that supports this. It says, if the lung got emptied, but the membrane is still intact, even if in that empty spot it could hold a revius, like a kiddush cup, still ksheira. Okay, now we go to another part of the animal, nitla shalachufis shalach. If the uterus was removed, ksheira. What's that called? Hysterectomy. Ksheira, it's kosher. Hitliya kavichala. Let's say the liver was all wormy. There's worms in the liver. Does they ever have such a thing in medical?
Yeah, actually in the gallbladder.
There's worms that.
Yeah, that was the famous thing of the Jews that went to Shanghai and then ate fish in the ponds. Didn't realize that it was infected. Many of them with cysticercosis cirrhosis or whatever it's called. And then, like 20 years later, when the cysts of larvae of quote unquote the worms started exploding in the gallbladder, all of a sudden, it's true story. There was a preponderance of emergency gallbladder, what do you call it, cholecystectomies in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And until they put it together and realized with the pathology, it wasn't gallstones, but it was these people all went back to Shanghai and unfortunately had the wrong. Interesting bit of history.
Wow.
This is a pretty face, doctor.
Wow. So this was a story of Bnei Asya Gimel Regolim Liyavna. The people from Asia. Oh my gosh, the people from Asia. Actually, Asya means Asia Minor, but whatever. Let's say it's Asia. Let's say it's not Turkey. Let's say it's China. The Gimel Regolim Yavna, they went 3 holidays to Yavna to discuss this with the sages of Yavna. The Regel Shlishi Tirulehem. On the 3rd holiday, the 3rd time they came, they said, "Okay, it's kosher." Amar Rav Yosef Bar Minim, Amar Rav Nachman. We're going to have machlekes here. Rav Yosef Bar Minim says the name of Rav Nachman. We're on Mem Ches Amud Aleph. Reya hasmucha l'doifen ein chayshema. If it's stuck to the wall of the chest wall. So here, it's a kliya covered. Liver has worms. See that?
Oh,
okay. So now this is here. This is the lung in the chest wall. But if you notice the way that it's put over here is that it's stuck to the flesh between the ribs. As we're going to see in the Gemara. It could be stuck to the ribs. Here it's stuck to the chest. See that? This is a better this one right here. Stuck to the wall. When we did smicha, we had to go to the place. We stuck our hand inside the animal. They shech the animal, make an incision right on the chest. And then you have to put your hand in, feel around the lungs, and see if you feel anything.
It's
called the bedikas. Yeah, it's called bedikas pnim. And you're supposed to be able to tell if there's any adhesion to the lung, because once they take the lung out, then you won't be able to know if it was stuck at one point. So before they take it out, you have to put your hand all the way around and feel everything. And then if you felt like something, you would make a mark on. They had a chart, a paper chart. You're supposed to make a mark on it, and then afterwards they're going to check that front of the lung.
And you still wanted to become a rabbi?
So
Want to become a rabbi, but not a shochet.
barehanded. Barehanded. You had to roll up your sleeve. You know, it wasn't bloody. It was just like, you know, it's just like slimy, but it wasn't bloody.
Gross.
Do you mind that drink?
Okay.
It was just gross.
That's not a problem if it's stuck to the wall. Interesting, right? Helsetsmachem, if there has like these growths in it, what do they call the growths in the English? Tumors, blisters, some sort of growth.
Blister here.
Blister, it has blisters. Then Cheshlan, now we have a concern. You see, there's two possibilities why the lung is stuck to the wall. Either there was the wall of the ribs was injured, and as it's healing, it ended up spreading over and attaching to the lungs, or the lungs were injured, and as it's healing, it attached to as it's healing, the new growths would make it attached. So if there's halsitzmachim, then it must have been a problem in the lungs, and the fact that it's attached to the wall means that it was a problem in the lungs, which is okay. So goes like this. He says it doesn't matter if it's even if there's no blisters, we still suspect the fact that it's attached to the wall that maybe it's a problem in the lungs. Now we have a machlekes between Rav Nachman and Avimi. What do you want us to do? We're talking about if there's tzmachim, if there's blisters there, we know there's a problem. There's no blisters, there's a machlekes. What do you want us to do? Amar Rava says, Ravin Bar Shava Asberli. Ravin Bar Shava explained to me how to deal with this. I seen it's Akina the Chalash Pumi. Chalash Pumi sounds like that it's very weak, but it turns out that it's exactly the opposite. It means that it's very sharp razor. And you go along the lung, along the wall of the rib cage, and you separate the lung from and you make sure you don't tear the membrane. And then you look at the wall of the inside cavity of the rib cage. If you see that there's bruises there, then talina and basar daifen. We say that the problem was in the rib cage. But if you see everything is fine in the rib cage, then machmas reyahu treifa. Then it comes from the reya and it's a treifa. Even though there's no wind when you blow up the lung, there's no wind that's coming through the lung, we say it was still a problem. Okay, well, Rav Nechemia Breder Rav Yosef Badakla B'Pshur. Rav Nechemia Breder Rav Yosef would check the lung in lukewarm water. Amar Mar Zutra Breder Rav Huna Breder Rav Popular Ravina. They tell him, Hadar Rav Nechemia Breder Rav Yosef Atua Naham Masnisala Anana the Rav Masninala. You just told me that Rav Nechemia Breder Rav Yosef would check the lung when it's stuck to the side, and all of this and that's, and he would blow it up in water, in lukewarm water. We actually have that halacha said that he would blow it up in lukewarm water, but it was with a different case. It was with the case of Rava. The Marava, Hani Tarti Uni Dereya the Srachinan Ladadi, Lesle Bidikusa Lachshure. You have the two lobes of the lung that have a tissue that's connecting them, as a sircha that's connecting them. So then Rav Nechemia Breder Rav Yosef, the first opinion says that you can't check it. He said you could check it in lukewarm water. Maskefla Ravashi. Ravashi has a question on this. Hi Mai. How is this? Like, what is going on over here? When it came to the lung that's stuck to the rib cage, so we said that you can check it. There were two opinions. One said that you could still blow it up, even if say why. So you blow it up. You blow it up and see if the wind is coming out. So then it's a problem, and if not, then it's kosher. You said why? So why should it be kosher? So well, why was it stuck? It didn't have to be stuck because of the problem in the lungs. It was stuck because of the problem of the rib cage. Aval Hassam, but over here, when you have a sircha adhesion that's going from one lobe to another lobe, ihai nakiv treifa. What do you want to say that the problem was? If this lobe had the hole, then it's a treifa. If the other lobe had the hole, then it's a treifa, right? So it says, okay, so that's a problem. Does Rav Nachman say that there's a problem if it has if there's a problem if it has the growths, the blisters on it. Rav Nachman says exactly the opposite. Nachman says that even if it had a hole, even along with the hole, it's still kosher if it's pressed against the rib cage, because the rib cage covers it. The rib cage seals up the hole. It gets sealed. The Gemara says like kasha. It's not a problem. It's a contradiction in Rav Nachman. Rav Nachman says that the hole is a problem. Rav Nachman says the hole is not a problem. So the Gemara answers, depends which part of the lung. The lower part of the lung, what they call the caudal lobes, the lower part of the lung, which is not directly pressed against the rib cage, or the upper part of the lung by the unais, the lobes of the lung. It is over there. Over there, the Gemara is going to say, what's considered the place where it grows? The place where the lobes are. Over there, it's going to be much tighter. So over there, it's going to be pressed against the rib cage. It's going to be kasha here. In this picture.
You want the enlarged picture?
In this picture, you have up here. Up here, it's okay. Down here, it's a problem. Where it's tighter up on the top.
Yes,
you got it. Okay. If you want the gory one, that's over here. That's this one here. They show you the inside.
That is gross.
That was very gross.
Okay. Chullin illuminated. Okay. Gufa. Let's go back and discuss something that was mentioned by the Amiraim earlier. Amarav Yais, Barminimi, Amarav Nachman, Reya Shenikva, but they would say Maseches Chullin. If the lung has a hole in it, but it's being pressed against the wall, the rib cage, then it's going to be kosher. Amaravina, with the Savach Bebisra, that's only if it's attached to the skin, to the flesh. There's two parts over there. There's the bone and the flesh. It's only the flesh that will seal up the hole. The bone won't seal the hole because it's hard. It won't press against it properly. If it's not like surrounded by the flesh, so then what's going to be the treifa? Is it going to be a treifa? Al mamrina nakuvi. Why are you making it a treifa? You say it must be because it has a hole, right? Like we said, it has a hole. But ihachik kisabach nami. So even if there's flesh that's surrounding it, the Tanya nikav pasal pneishu sheises nistam kasher pneishu meilet v'zeh psul shechesh lech sheiri zeh psul shechesh lech sheiri v'zeh lemuti mi'ay lav letikei gavna loy lemuti krum shalamach masmaka b'reya deina krum. Okay, we quote a Gemara, we quote a brisa regarding someone that was castrated. So is he allowed to get married into the community? So it says if he has a hole in his organ, so then he can't get married because when he urinates, it just pours out. And that would mean that he was not able to have children and he's not supposed to get married. It's a krus shafcha. It's called krus shafcha. Nistam, but if that hole gets sealed up, then it's kosher because he will be able to procreate. So, did we say, you see, this is something that could be fixed. This is a problem that could be fixed. If someone has, what's the surgery called when they did that?
Talking Zaboso.
What? Oh,
Inside joke.
ectomy.
So long since YU.
You mean where they cut off the sperm from going?
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on, Jackson Memorial Hospital, 1978.
Okay.
It'll come to me.
So this is something that could be healed, that could be fixed because they can do a surgery today to fix it, and if it gets healed, however, it's healed. So we say that this is something that could heal. However, something else cannot heal. So what's the other thing that can't heal? It must mean if there's a hole in the lung and that's being pushed against the rib cage, the flesh of the rib cage, that cannot heal. When it says lie, no, there's something. See, we're being medaic, we're implying. Say this is something that can heal, but other things can't heal. That would mean a hole in the lung can't heal. I said no, we're talking about krum shalamach masmaka. See, what you have to do over here is you have to accept that there's a difference between scar tissue, which we don't accept as a lung healed with scar tissue, but we do accept if the pressed against the rib cage. Scar tissue we say won't hold, but pressed against the rib cage we say will hold. That's not scar tissue. That's the other part of the body that's pressing against it, that's sealing up the hole. The new skin we say won't hold. Okay. Maskefla Rav Ukva Barchama. Rav Ukva Barchama has a question. Ilu inkev b'deifen lahada mai. Treifa. Let's say there's a hole that's drilled through the rib cage, exactly up to the spot in the lung that had a. You got it? The word?
No, it's telling me urochiectomy, but that's when they take the guns.
Okay, so if there would be a hole through the rib cage directly to that part of the lung that we had a problem with because it was attached, and it would be a treifa. Why is it kosher? Because the rib cage is sealing off the hole that's in the lung. So if you would make a hole in the lungs, then, and not a hole in the lungs, but there's a hole in the lung, it's being sealed by the wall of the rib cage. But if you would take that flesh, sealing it up, you would take that and you would make a hole right there, right? If you would make a hole right there, then it won't be sealing it up, yeah? So then that would be a treifa, because there's a hole that's supposed to be the patch. There's a hole in the patch. So listening to Kuvas Adaifen. So now we have a problem like this. We have a whole list of treifas in the Mishnah. One of them is a hole in the lung. But now, because the hole in the lung could be sealed by the rib cage, a hole in the rib cage would also be a treifa if there's already a hole in the lung. So why don't we have a hole in the rib cage as one of the treifas? So the Gemara says, according to your question, the way you're asking this question, other Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef said, Rabbi Yechanan, Marashinikva. Let's say the gall has a hole in it, the kavitzis masa, and the liver is sealing it up. Ksheira. We say that's kosher, but ilu inkav kavod lahadamai. Let's say there was a hole in the liver right opposite where it's supposed to be sealing the gall, then that would be a treifa. So listening to kuvas hakavitz, why don't you say a hole in the liver then? Why don't you say it's a hole in the liver is a treifa? We would have another treifa. Whenever we have a hole in something else that's not the treifa from this, we say that's not the we don't list that. We don't list a hole in the thing that's being patching it up. That doesn't get listed. Boimine Rabba Bar Barchana Mishmuel. Rabba Barchana asks from Shmuel a question. Let's say there's blisters on the lung. Amalek Sheira says that's kosher. Amalek Afani Aimerkin. I also hold that. Elisha Talmidim is danzin bedavar. The Amar Rav Masna, because the students are skeptical about this, because Rav Masna taught Malya Mugla is treifa, Mayim Zakim is kosher. It depends what's in those blisters. If it's pus, then it's treifa. If it's clear water, then it's kosher. Amar Lei, so he told them back, that wasn't talking about the lung. That was talking about in the kidneys. In the kidneys, there's this type of blister. Then that would be a problem if it's filled with pus. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef, because of Astrei Rabbi Yirmiyah b'Shukah de Tabchi. Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef was following Rabbi Yirmiyah in the butcher marketplace. He saw these lungs that had on it these blisters. Amalei leiboy marumta. He tells Rabbi Yirmiyah, you don't want some meat to eat? You want to buy some of the meat? Amalei Leslie Priti, he says, I don't have any money. Amalei Akfanana, he says, I'll lend you. He wants to find out what the halach is, and this was a major machlekes. So Amarle, my Avalach, he says, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? Chasal Kamid Rabbi Yechanan, the Shaila came to Rabbi Yechanan. Mishadal Kamid Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shimon, the Mari Bar Mishmei Rabbi Lozer Bar Shimon Latera. He himself, Rabbi Yechanan, wouldn't paskin on the Shaila. He would send everyone to go to Rabbi Yehuda Bar Shimon that would paskin like Rabbi Lozer Bar Shimon that would say that it's kosher. It says Valei Svirle, but he didn't hold that it was kosher. Rabbi Yechanan himself, he would say, don't ask me, ask another Rav, because he said, I didn't hear from my teachers that it's kosher, but I know there's another Rav that says that it's good. So go to him; he'll tell you it's good. So Rabbi Yirmiyah is saying, what do you want from me? You want me to paskin on this? So he was trying to avoid the psak by saying he doesn't have money. Amar Rava. Rava says, "Ki maskinan maspashed Rav Nachman b'shuk the Gildai." They're following Rav Nachman in the marketplace of the tanners, leather workers. And some say it was the rabbi's marketplace. I don't know what the rabbi's marketplace is. What would they sell over there?
Svarim.
Svarim? They
It's
sell
rabbis.
What is it? What does it mean, Shukah Derabanan? Do they have a what do they say in English?
Rabbi's market.
What do they sell over there? Does it say? Is there a note? Like it's nothing. Okay. Chazi Hanach the Kaima Kandi. You saw these that look like candies. That's a pun. But they look like growths. They look like growths the size of a jug, like little hanging blisters. Rab Nachman didn't say that there was any problem with it. Rabami v'Rabasi avichalfa b'shuk de Tveria chazanach tekami tinri. Tinri are hardened blisters, like maybe like warts or something, tubers. He didn't say that there was any problem with it. Okay. Itmar, we have a statement. This is a more of a complex Gemara, but if you find a needle inside the lung, so we have a machlekes over here. Rabbi Yechanan, remember this?
Yeah, it's from 7 years ago.
Rabbi Yechanan, it definitely wasn't from yesterday. Rabbi Yechanan, Rabbi Chanina Machshir, Rabbi Yechanan, it says that it's kosher. You're going to see that's going to be relevant. Rabbi Lazar and Rabbi Chanina, they all say that it's kosher. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Ramani bar Pativ, Rabbi Shimon ben Yakim Tarfi, they say that it's treif. You have a needle in the lung. Let's say that this is the machlekes. Marsavar chisar mipnei shnei chisaron. Marsavar leshmei chisaron. That we think that maybe the needle in the lung has to do with the tissue around the needle is going to start to disintegrate. Around the metal is going to cause it to disintegrate. So one says that it's treif because it's going to be, once it's going to disintegrate, there's going to be a chisaron. That means it's a treifa. Chisaron means it's lacking the tissue. The other one says, no, a chisaron in the inside is not a problem. It's only on the outside. It's only on the membranes that there would be a problem. That's a machlek. The Gemara says, that's not, no, you got it wrong. The kuli al mechisaron b'fnim leishmei chisaron. Everyone holds that there's no problem if the inside is missing. Remember, we thought the nishpacha kikisain, that if you pour it out all like a jug, we said that it was kosher. Machlekes here is like this. Question is, how did it get here? Did he breathe in the needle? Right, aspirate, right? Breathed it in and he got a needle in his lungs and it went to it ended up inside the lungs. So it went through the bronchial tube. So far he's fine. It's, or he swallowed it.
Couldn't go through
into the metal detector.
If he worked the cow.
Or maybe he swallowed the needle. It came through the esophagus and punctured through the esophagus and went into the lung. That's a big problem. So there's a machlekes over here. Machlekes is, what do we assume how it got there? Okay. It was someone that he cut up in the lung. He found over there a needle inside. Could have found a diamond in the fish, but he found the needle in the lung. I still like Kami de Rabami, brother to Rabami. Savalach Shuri. Rabami says it's kosher. Rabami would rely on Rabbi Yechanan, right, his teacher. Eisvei Rabbi Yirmiyah, V'temer Rabbi Zrika. Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Zrika asked him, it's the same Gemara. It says, if there's a hole in the lung, or if it's missing something, my chasra, what do you mean missing? If it's missing on the outside in nikva, that means it's punctured. And what do you say? Punctured? You say it twice. Elalav mivifnim. It must mean that it's missing on the inside. And obviously, if it's missing on the inside, it's a problem. Okay, he could have answered him that Mishnah is talking about Reb Shimon, like we answered before. So, they sent the Shaila to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha about this piece of lung. He said also to be mater. So now these two fellows are following the Shaila around, and they said, 1 second. If there's a hole in the lung, it's missing. My chasser, what's it missing? It's missing on the outside. That means that it's punctured. That means punctured. Must mean that it's missing on the inside. Obviously, a problem on the inside is a problem. They sent it back to Rabami, who had it the Shaila the first time, and he says that it's treif. Now, 1 second. And the Shittim Kumetza switches it that they send it to Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha. They told him, this is like that joke with, are you Jewish? You remember that? The guy's on the train, he says, are you Jewish? He says, no. He says, are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? Are you Jewish? He just keeps asking. He says, okay, fine, I'm Jewish. He says, that's funny, you don't look Jewish. So here, they tell him, they said it's kosher. They say, how could it be kosher? They send it somewhere else. They say, how could it be kosher? Then it goes back. He says, okay, fine, it's treif. It's treif. Everyone else says it's kosher. So So Amar Lohen, when they said that it was kosher, that's because they knew why it was kosher. Why? Because they over there it was an entire lung. It wasn't a piece of a lung. Yeah, so Anan, but for us, mezetam nachshe. How could we say that it's kosher? Maybe if we would look at the lung itself, if we had the whole lung, we don't have, we just have a piece of the lung. But look at the whole lung, we would see that there's a hole. Taima the lesser. Oh, so what you want to tell me now is that the reason why you're saying it's treif is because you don't have the lung here. Isa, but if the lung was, you have a lay minkva and there was no problem, kshera, then it would be kosher. The problem is with that, if there's a hole in the bronchi, I don't know how you find this out, but if the lung inside the tissue of the lung was fine, if it was missing a little bit, but if the bronchial tubes had a hole in it, that's a treifa. It says ahula chaveri yitmar. That was only a problem if in the bronchial tubes themselves, they one to the other. That's the needle in the lung. Let's see if we have the bronchial tubes. He goes wild over this guy. You see over here? If there's a hole in the tube, one tube, the other tube that won't seal it off because it's hard, the piece next to it is hard, then we say that's a problem. The hole right there. Oh. There's a hole right on the bronchial tube. Let me see if just so I can get to this spot where we could finish. The problem is, Rav Nachman, Hai Hadra the Kanta, the Inka, Lahade Chavre Meganala, Lahade, if the fat of the intestines has a hole, so the other part of the intestine can seal up that hole. Ravashi, so we see it can heal it up, even though there's the intestines is not like flesh. He says, Treifus kamadami la'adadi, you're comparing treifus one to another. You can't ask questions in treifus. Oh, what do you mean? You said the hole in this is not a problem, so why is the hole in that a problem? Or why is that? You can't ask that question. So if you cut it over here, it dies. You cut it over here and it lives. There was a needle that they found in the big the main bronchial tube. Asila kami derabanan trufai. Brought it to the Rabbanan, and the rabbis that said that it's treif, which is Rish Lakish and Ramani Bar Patish and Reb Shimon ben Eliakim. They didn't say that it was treif. They didn't say that it's kosher kishmai tayu because of their shita. They hold that it was treif. But they didn't say that it's aser. Given there was over here, it's more logical to say that it came through the trachea, that it breathed it in, because over here it wasn't found in the flesh of the lung, it was found in the tube itself. Okay, we're going to stop by the needle that was found in the liver. All right. Have a good Shabbos, everyone.
That's everybody.
We show us Rabbi Yismid.
Thank you,
It's
Eliezer.
been nice to have you
Yeah.
back.
Thank you so much. Good to
Nice
be
to
back.
see you.
Have a
Back
good
on-
Shabbos.
We're in person now in the shul at 7:30. If Eliezer. if you can
What
make it.
time is it on Sunday?
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sunday is 6:30.
Okay.
I'll probably be on a flight already.
Okay.
Yeah, to the West Coast.
Oh,
Okay.
shalom.
Have a good Shabbos.
Oh boy. Okay. Hatzlacha. Okay.
Thanks.
130 Mount